It is very sad looking at the unconscious people running on the treadmill believing they will get somewhere, they will get something, or they will escape the perception of themselves. It is the same when I look at the spiritual people chasing the hope that one day they will reach some higher state of being, detached from the very ordinary and simple moments of life. Both groups cause the same. They increase the distance between themselves and illusory sense of self they believe they are. This gap can become such big that they even forget themselves for good. The lack of acceptance, the lack of capacity to stay ourselves no matter what we feel or think is the main cause that keeps us away from our being. Accepting our bodies and minds as they are, treating them with love and understanding is loving ourselves. This body and mind are our closest experiences. If we are unable to surrender with no fight into this body and mind experience, we still create the separate sense of self. First, it is very important to be in peace with this body and mind experience. If our self-love becomes strong enough, which is the same as the ultimate surrender, we do not fight, we stop creating and feeding the illusory sense of self. We bridge the distance and we finally accept ourselves. Petting ourselves, we accept life. Losing the separateness within the life itself is living in reality. Someone calls it enlightenment. I hear all of you saying it is easy to tell but hard to do. And you are absolutely right. Surrender is not doing nothing, it is the total openness. To be able to remain open and vulnerable does not come instantly. But we can always start to make the first step. We can stop running away instead of staying where we are. Running away from ourselves is just the illusion. Realizing this truth, you can remove the main cause keeping you on the treadmill. Same on that treadmill, you are not moving anywhere. Running away happens only in the mind. There are some very excellent answers already, but I thought I'd add my own perspective to the mix. First, I believe everyone is already enlightened. The thing that makes people not enlightened is resistance to being enlightened. Society builds some of that into us, because a truly enlightened society wouldn't need leaders, we'd only need people to help direct resources, managers. And that makes people who want to be leaders very nervous. But it also implies that they're not true leaders to begin with, or they'd encourage this and simply transition to an easier life as a manager of resources. Second, the resistance to enlightenment is based in the ideas of self-importance, self-indulgence, and control over others. These three are all based in the idea that the universe isn't singular, that we aren't all merely parts of the universe as a whole, or God, if you believe that way, expressing as unique perspectives. When we begin believing that our own perspectives are more important than the connection to each other and the universe, or God, then we lose sight of what it means to have enlightenment in the first place. Third, enlightenment is a process, not a goal. If your goal is enlightenment, your ego will find ways to defeat it. If enlightenment is merely a process, the ego has a harder time defeating it, because then you have the leeway to be imperfect and to grow from the experiences you have, and to accept that being enlightened isn't something you achieve, it's merely something you're working on. The more you progress, the more you tend to have enlightened times, until it becomes your default. And then people start noticing that you know stuff. Of course, the ego immediately puffs up, and you lose enlightenment altogether if you haven't overcome it. But it's at least possible to get there from here. It is basically a decision not to pursue enlightenment. The belief that this life is all that exists. Earthly pleasures and material success is more important than achieving a higher consciousness. The ironic part is that it is all intertwined. I don't believe in it, I don't trust anything new, I choose the visible reality as the sole reality, what a waste of time for fools. We also thought the earth was flat. Choice, a person's decision to choose the distractions of the world over their path to enlightenment. Fear encountering the unfamiliar can be uncomfortable or frightening compared to the mundane. Belief systems, memories of adults' lectures and misplaced loyalties to a childhood religious background can be a deterrent. Lack of trust, lacking trust in one's worthiness to be part of the divinity, universal consciousness. Lack of awareness, not using everything as a learning experience. Stuff happens, duh, what is my lesson here and why does the same thing keep happening to me?